What's up, BB Besties? I have a live feed update today.
Hey, BB friends, here's a quick update.
Welcome to the Girl Gab podcast. Join your hosts, Allie and Nikki, as they break down the latest in pop culture, TV, and whatever else they feel like gabbing about. Girl Gab starts now.
Welcome back to the Girl Gab podcast. This is another special Waffle Wednesday episode where we talk about different chaos creators that we know of in the Big Brother nation, the Big Brother
community.
What do we call it? Community. Today is Wednesday for you, but for me, you're watching this in the future, okay? Right now, it's Sunday. No,
Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Yes.
Right now it's Saturday, and it's the first Saturday in May, which means it's Derby Day. Woo, woo, woo. Only I'm excited about that. And I am drinking coffee from my Kentucky Derby mug because I have to represent. What are you guys up to today?
I am just working today. Took some time out to chat with you guys about some Big Brother. It's a good work break, but then I'm jumping right back on it.
Right back on it.
But you, Kyle?
Not much. Gonna do the same thing. Just come here and hang out with you guys, and then go out to lunch with a friend of mine.
Yeah, and I guess I should have mentioned this is Kyle. Kyle is one of our BB besties.
Mm-hmm.
So we love chatting with Kyle on TikTok. That's where I got to know Kyle.
Yep.
I assume that's where Nicolette got to know Kyle as well.
Yep.
So
Between the two of you guys.
what was your first season watching Big Brother, Kyle?
Good question. My full first season, I think, was season 16. So
Okay.
the good, like the start off of the good. Well, yeah. Start
I
off
was
of
gonna say,
like
arguably, Nicolette and I do not say that's the good.
no, but
No, 16 was good, but
Yeah.
we like the old school. So did you go
Yeah.
back and watch any of the old
yes,
school
because
seasons?
I got told to watch the other two. So I've watched like Rachel Riley's season first.
Yeah.
And then Brittany's seasons next, and then she was actually one of my favorites too. So, but yeah.
Yeah, we love
Yep.
both of those people. So
Yeah.
okay,
for
well,
sure.
today for Chaos Creators, we have decided that we should give justice to Vanessa Rousso.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yes.
I'll let Nicolette kind of go over this. Don't know why, but my memory just seems to be so foggy on Vanessa.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's going to come back to me as I hear it. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
I hear Nicolette took a few notes. So,
Yes.
okay, so let's go.
Let's jump in.
Yeah.
This season 17, is the first season where I was actually a subscriber to the live feeds. This was
Oh, yeah.
my introduction
Ooh.
into being a live feeder. Previously, I had watched like After Dark, like we've talked about in the past, and different things like that, but I was glued to the feeds from night one through the end of the season. This was my season. So
Well, and the Audrey thing that
Mhm.
would have had
Yes.
me absolutely. I would have been like,
Yeah.
is she coming out of the room? Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
I can't imagine actually subscribing for BB17 because I would have been also glued. You wouldn't
Yeah.
have seen me. I would not
No.
have seen the light of
No.
day.
nope, and I didn't. Okay, so with Vanessa, Vanessa's chaos is a lot different than any of the other chaos creators we've previously talked about because hers is very emotionally driven. And it started night one of the live feeds. As soon as the feeds came up, all we see on all four cameras is Vanessa crying in the bathroom, talking about how she wants to go home because she's such a genuine person. She can't imagine backstabbing anyone. She can't imagine turning on people. This just seems like such a cruel game. Blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, we're in for a roller coaster. We are in for a roller coaster with this one. So I knew from the beginning that she was one to watch. And honestly, I don't think she ever stopped crying for the rest of the season. But yeah, so that's really what we're going to focus on today is Vanessa's like emotional outbursts in general. She really did weaponize the white lady tears to
Yeah.
make things happen and go her way in the Big Brother house.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, her game was very much so creating scenarios to justify why or giving herself a reason to be able to target someone because she felt like she couldn't just being the fact that they were playing a game and that the meaning of the game was to evict someone every week was apparently not enough justification for her. So we see it very early on in the week that Jeff is evicted.
Mm-hmm.
There's her alliance, Vanessa's alliance, which was mostly her, Shelley, and Clay. I think maybe Audrey as well at that point in time. They concocted this whole conversation that Shelly and Clay were going to have part of a conversation with Jeff, and then she was going to have a part of a conversation with Jeff, and they were going to catch him up in this lie, and that was going to give Vanessa reason to target him for the week. And they do just that.
Yeah, I forgot.
So
about
I
the
love
season.
I love that you mentioned that, because you're actually the one that mentioned Vanessa for our list. And when you mentioned Vanessa, I was like, I guess, yeah. Like, but because I was just an After Dark watcher at that time, because you still had to pay for the live feed specifically. And like, historically, I've been a very poor person. So until it was like, you buy said app, and said app comes with all these other perks in addition to live feeds, I was not watching live feeds. Okay. So I say this to say, from my vibe on the live feeds as well as the show's edit, I don't know that I would have, until you mentioned it, considered her chaotic. I would have just considered her super like abrasive, emotional, and definitely a downright manipulative player. Yeah. But when you mentioned her for the chaos, I was like, okay, like I see it. I see it. So I love that you started off with that as your first moments that you remember from her, because that kind of puts it into a different perspective for me from you talking about it on the live feeds. Kyle, what do you remember about those first few weeks of Vanessa?
First few weeks, because I just literally just watched it, because that was one of the seasons I forgot about it and continue to forget about it. I don't know why. But yeah, I felt like she was also like one of those people that was like not seen or heard until like until a couple of times. Like she was kind of invisible and kind of like one of those, lay low type of people, and stuff like that. Because like even like I was watching, what his name was, Jace. I think like even his week, like he was just like, that week, after that week, she was laying low and stuff like that full week. So like, yeah. So I think maybe that's why I forgot about her too.
Yeah, and she definitely was. We didn't mention this. We probably should have at the beginning, but where she was a poker player, she was obviously, I think she was one of the players that when the casting dropped, we were all very excited to see what was going to happen with her. I actually, for some reason, remember a little bit more of the next season, her sister, because her sister was also emotionally chaotic.
Oh, I forgot that her sister was on it too. Yeah.
And so I think sometimes I get them confused. Like when you first started talking about the first week, I was like, wait, I was like, is she confused? Was that her sister? But the more you talked, I was like, oh, they both were super emotional.
Yeah, 100%.
But her sister's emotions didn't get her very far. They weren't as strategic. They were just blow up.
She was just an emotional person, and Vanessa is as well, but Vanessa was able to weaponize her emotions. She was able to play on that and use it as strategy. Another time that I can think of that she really kind of like, chaos creation just was her strategy.
Yeah.
She had to create scenarios to then kind of build her game around those different scenarios. I mean, there was one time that she was going to actually turn on Austin, and it was for a very similar situation as the one with Jeff, where she had kind of planted these seeds with him to see to test him essentially, and he failed the test. He ended up being able to talk to her and come back for it, but that was her strategy, was I'm going to test you, and if you fail, it gives me reason to target you. I'm going to create these scenarios that you have to be able to pass or you're out the door kind of situation. And then go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to jump forward for 5 seconds because I was trying to recall the twin twist. Didn't that come into play with Vanessa? Because if I remember correctly, Vanessa was maybe at a pretty big risk, and then Davon figured out the twin thing, and then it kind of shifted everyone's mood that week, right?
Yeah,
kind of, sort of, but I think really this was a pivotal moment in Vanessa's game, because while everyone else in the house was seeing the twin twist as a threat, and they were wanting to target the twins because of the twist, Vanessa saw it as an advantage, and she was like, hey, you get to bring your sister in a couple weeks, which means if I team up with you, that's an extra vote on my side in a couple weeks when I'm going to need an extra number.
Well, yeah, because then it became Austin, Clay, and the twins.
Yep, and Shelly. And so
Shelly,
Vanessa's the one that not only got Julia to admit to the twin twist to her and say that her name was Julia instead of Liz, but then to, yes, create that alliance with Shelley and Clay, Austin and the twins, and they were a pretty successful alliance for a while in the season, honestly.
Yeah, I forgot
I
about
like it. So
that twin twist, yeah.
what do you guys feel about like I do remember there being controversy during that season. Once Vanessa started to get into positions of power, there's a lot of debate on how she maybe didn't use that power to her advantage anymore. Whereas when she wasn't in power, she almost operated a little bit better. She was a little bit like Derek, right? Like he operated really well under the radar. So I've seen, like, I remember at that time, I guess Reddit wasn't a thing. Whatever I was on, I don't know, MySpace.
Probably Twitter.
Probably
Twitter. I remember there being conversations about like her being like having like reigns of terror and like just there were some people that were against her. I don't think I was ever against her. I always like understood her assignment. But what do you guys think of how she acted when she was in moments of power? Kyle,
I forgot it. I forgot about her moments of power. That's why I'm rewatching it now too.
So I do agree with what you said, Allie. She was much better at manipulating people to make moves that benefited her when she was not the one in power, as opposed to when she actually was. Because like the week that I remember the most was the week that Jason went home. She was the HOH. Jason was not coming after her, you know? And in fact, because Jason, Vanessa, and Audrey were all members of the LGBTQ community, they kind of initially had this like agreed upon thing of like, hey, we're going to protect the community kind of thing.
That was like the first time that we had that many LGBTQ community people. And this is going to be controversial for a second, but I think the reason that we had another female and another male in the LGBTQ community, along with Audrey, who is obviously a female in the LGBTQ community, but she's a trans female. I truly think that CBS knew, like, we can't put Audrey in here by herself. That would be extremely unfair. So I think that was my first, like, view, and we can talk more about Audrey on something else. But that was, like, my first thought of, okay, production is actually trying to not make this incredibly unfair. And, of course, it took them a while before they got to where they are now. But that was, I think, my first insight to, like, okay, they're trying a little bit better on casting.
More diverse.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was a huge casting choice because what year was that? 2016? Like, that was still like... Sorry, that was like a whole tangent. I just like had
No, you're good.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
But
so I love that for Vanessa because it panned out because, like you said, they almost had like that unwritten bond.
Exactly.
Kind of like the cookout. The cookout kind of since the same. So
yes. But then when Vanessa comes into power, she then decides that she's going to kind of break that and send Jason home. And I also
unnecessarily.
Exactly. And so it's like another time where yes, she's in power, but she actually ends up probably hurting her game rather than helping it. So it was like when she decides to turn on Jason, there's this moment, and I honestly don't remember if it made the episodes or not, but on the feeds, where she doesn't tell Jason that she is a professional poker player, but she tells him that she is very, very wealthy and that she will make sure that he has money after the show. Never happened, by the way.
Okay, so I don't remember that, and I would only assume it didn't make the show because they don't typically, since it's highly against the rules, they don't typically air that. But
exactly,
wow, I don't remember that. Yeah,
that was really interesting too.
Yeah,
and I could have known. I guess I should say I was an After Dark watcher, but I always was like a hamster watch keeper upper. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even though I couldn't physically see the feeds, I knew what was going on.
Yeah, exactly. But it goes again to like she felt like that was like, okay, if I offer him money, it justifies my reason or like cancels out me like turning my back on him kind of thing. And it's like she always had to do that, and it drove me absolutely insane. You're a villainous player, just own it.
So it was almost like she wanted to always defuse her very big game moves. But to me, like you're saying, she didn't need to because like just stand on business, girlfriend. Like
it's a game. Yeah.
This game is a game. But, you know, I do think that we didn't have a bitter jury. So in the event that she would have made it to final 2, I do think that the jury would have understood, but I do also see her perspective because we're coming off of a few other seasons where like jury management was wildly important. For example, BB15.
There was only 7
Andy
at the time,
knew,
right? Then
no, we have 7 now. So we would have been like on a 9-person jury at that point.
9. Okay, just make sure.
There was 9 for a while, right?
I think so. I would have to. I'll Google it.
But anyway, so in 15, like Andy knew that the things that these mofos were saying were so wild and crazy that if he brought Gina Marie with him, that he just knew because they were, even though they didn't know what was happening inside the house, production was having conversations and pulling people aside and being like, hey, like, let's make sure we're not saying things that America's not going to like. So everyone sensed, and they were clearly having conversations on the live feeds after dark or whatever about that. And I think Andy knew. He knew when they get to the jury house, there's going to be more conversations. If I take Gina Marie, because obviously Aaron wasn't an option, but like if I take Gina Marie, there is no way that this jury is going to think it's a good idea to vote for somebody that is this controversial. Like, I think he knew that, which is crazy. This shows how good of a player he was, but I really do think he knew this is the best move for me. Not because Gina Marie had bad jury management, because if you think about it, her friends were in that jury.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I really and truly, vehemently believe that he knew this is going to play a role. I'm gonna do this. And he was like, what, a communications professor? So like I think he I think so. Knew. But anyway, so did you look it up? It was 9 or 7?
Yeah, it's 9. It says seasons 15 through 25 were our 9-person jury seasons.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, and then they realized how expensive that was and went back down to 7.
7.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I could have my timeline wrong, but it was because Vanessa, like I said, there was that alliance.
Wasn't it a back door? It was like a backdoor situation.
I think in that alliance you had Shelly and Clay, and then you had Austin and Liz, and then Julia also on the side. Like Vanessa ended up kind of being her pair, but like Julia really wasn't playing the game. Like if we're being honest, she was kind of just there.
No.
You know,
to be there.
Hi, Julia. Liz was carrying the work on her days in the Big Brother house.
Yes, exactly.
She's like, "What do you guys want for dinner?"
And so it really ended up.
Julia was just trying to dodge Dave on. Is all Julia was doing.
Yeah,
correct. She was just hiding
from Davon.
But it really ended up being like throughout the game where Vanessa was like the go-between between these two couples, that even though they were all supposed to be in an alliance, that other couple was trying to get a really strong hold on Vanessa because they knew in the end game they were going to need Vanessa to be on their side. And Vanessa ultimately ends up choosing Austin and the twins over Shelly and Clay. And so that week that you're talking about might be that week, because it was another situation of where there was a decision that Shelly and Clay and Vanessa all made together, but the blowback all came on to Shelly and Clay.
Because Vanessa threw them under the bus, right?
Yes.
To Meg, something.
Meg.
Yeah.
And also known as Taylor Swift,
the Taylor Swift lookalike almost.
Knockoff
version.
Taylor Swift lookalike, valid.
But
and then it gave Vanessa the numbers at that point, right?
Yeah, and
To
there
make
was
it
like
to
a
final
big there was
three.
a big blow up because I mean Shelly and Clay called her out on it, and they were like, you know, you are the sole reason that we're on the block, and she kind of started her, you know, playing business and was like, this was what we did all together, blah 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 blah.
So this was the same week that like Julia entered the house, or this was after Julia was already in the house at this point? Was this around the same time?
It would be
because there was like a week or two that everyone knew, right? There was like a week or two everyone knew, and then I think Big Brother was like, "Fuck, we better just."
You know, the twist. Like, this isn't Vanessa's.
I like the twin twist personally, but that's just my opinion.
No,
they never work out.
I will say the twist this season was such a joke because it was supposed to be the summer of the takeover, which you might, now that you're rewatching it, Kyle, you might remember some of this, but it was essentially there was supposed to be someone that takes over the Big Brother house every single week. That
the first week was Phil.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, the first week was like
why.
Phil. Yeah.
Yes. Phil, and then what was week 2 the Gronk week or no?
Week 2 was, I just started watching that. That was Kathy Griffin. I think, is that how you say her name?
Oh.
Yeah, Kathy Griffin was that second week.
Yes.
I love Kathy.
And then we had a Gronk week where Rob Gronkowski took over the house. But after that, it stops. And it was supposed to be literally every single week. Someone was supposed to come take over the Big Brother house and initiate a new twist for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Then why did it
and
stop?
they stop.
Why did it stop early?
The producer said that the cast was just doing enough on its own. That they didn't need to
Like enough
have
drama
twists.
on its own? Yeah.
Yes.
Truly valid, actually.
Exactly.
Because, like, and this is sad to say, but like the Audrey drama, because it was at her own personal mental health expense.
Yes.
But like that was a big, huge part of the first couple of weeks.
Well,
Well, I guess it started like week 2 or so, but like it was a huge storyline.
Yeah.
And then Vanessa was just a huge storyline on her own. So
yeah,
I could see that. Maybe coming off being where
exactly.
Yeah.
you know, where it's like, okay, we had one that was like one of the first real huge male alliances that was just like pivoting
Dominating.
or not pivoting, beast moding, dominating every single week. And there were shifts, and it was a great season to watch, and we were all excited because that was the first time we saw somebody do what Derek did. But coming off of that, I think I see how CBS was concerned that they needed to make sure the entertainment. I think we could see that on BB27, something similar happened, because I know that the Facebook moms don't like BB26, but personally, that was a truly entertaining season from start to finish.
I love BB6, yeah.
Well, until Janky Week. After Janky Week, things really went downhill.
That was so annoying, just to let you know.
I do think that we could see something like that. I think we could see production frantically being like, okay, how do we crunch numbers here? We cannot we can't go down from here. We can only go up. And social media is starting to play a bigger role than it ever has in all reality TV, but specifically Big Brother in the last 3 years or so, when people like us are talking about it and reporting about it.
Yeah.
I think we could see that happen again. Every episode, we are asking 3 questions about the chaos creator that we are talking about.
Okay.
The first question is, was this player chaotic or strategic? So what do you think about Vanessa? Chaotic or strategic?
Good question. I'd say a little bit of both, maybe.
Valid. I would agree with your I would co-sign.
I think she, out of everyone that we have talked about so far, is the one that kind of toes the line the closest of being a mix of the two together, for sure.
Yeah, I agree, because the other people we've talked about, it's like chaos, strategic. It's like one or the other.
Yes.
Okay, so the second question is, was Vanessa entertaining or annoying for you?
First week, I guess, like, not really entertaining because there was nothing going on with her. Because, you know, the first 2 weeks she was, like, laying low and stuff like that. But, I mean, after a while, maybe she got a little bit entertaining, but not as much either. So, like, it's kind of like, again, a mix kind of two different, you know. Yeah.
What do you think, Nicolette?
For me, it was entertaining on the feeds, but I can see how episodically it would not be very entertaining. But she kept the feeds really entertaining because she was almost kind of like Angela, where she was constantly spiraling.
Flip-flopping.
Constantly.
Flip-flopping and stuff like that.
Yeah, so back in the 2016 mindset, I don't think that I found her to be entertaining. I found her to be annoying. But again, wonderful that you say that, because I was not subscribed to live feeds. I was only on After Dark Twitter, so I knew what was going on, but I wasn't firsthand seeing it. So I'm glad that you gave me justice, because I was concerned that I was going to get canceled for saying
no.
But I know, but I will back that up by saying I do agree that she is one of the best players that has graced that house. So, okay, so the last question is, rate Vanessa's chaos on a scale of 1 to 10. Obviously, 1 being pretty low, 10 being like, you're so chaotic, I can't even deal with you again. Or you're so chaotic, I need you every time.
Ooh, good
so what do you think,
question.
Kyle?
Honestly, I'm not sure, but maybe a solid 5, 4.5, maybe. I don't know.
I'm gonna go with 6. I think she's the lowest as far as chaos goes. She's definitely a chaos creator. I think she earns a spot on the list, but she's gonna be one of the lower ones on the list, in my opinion.
Yes, I'm gonna go with 5. I'm gonna go with 5 for the same reasons that you said.
Mhm.
We've had some that are definitely more chaotic, and I think we have
Yeah.
some others that are going to be higher on the
Wow.
list. So I'm
Mhm.
going to put her at 5 because I don't know that anybody else is going to be any lower than 5 that
No.
we
Mhm.
No,
have
of-
under our sleeve.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I love Vanessa, and I love that we were able to talk about her today and give
Yeah.
her a little bit of justice.
Yeah.
I love that we were able to have Kyle join us.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
so
Kyle.
Kyle, if you want to shout out your, of course, I should obviously say this right now. Big Brother is literally upon us. There's
Uh-huh.
a lot. Yeah. And I'm going to go ahead and say this now because we did not have a Monday episode this week, which is unusual for us. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this right now. Big Brother is being
Posting?
speculated very heavily, I guess is what I
Mhm.
should say, that there will be an early premiere. There is debate on that because they are on track with announcing their premiere date. However, they have never warmed us up, unthawed, whatever we want to call it, us so quickly and so long. Because normally
Oh yeah.
they don't acknowledge that Big Brother exists until April or May. And before that, we have like no posts at all. So
Yeah.
I believe we are getting a June premiere.
Mhm.
I think that
At
it's
least
due time that we
end of June. Yeah.
I think so. I think it's due time that we go back to that, but they are still doing casting. So,
Which is
we'll find
crazy,
out.
yeah.
But the reason I plug it now is because this episode is going to be airing on Wednesday. And a lot of us believe that on
Believe.
Wednesday, we may be getting our actual premiere date announcement. So I could be eating my
Maybe.
words by the time this episode launches. Y'all can find out on Wednesday, right as I'm saying this, that actually it's going to be July 17th again.
Right.
Man. No.
But yeah, I plug this now is to make sure you are following all of us at least on our TikToks. I almost said Twitter. TikToks, because I'm like, don't go follow Nicolette on Twitter. She's not using Twitter.
I don't have Twitter either, so
I still have it downloaded, but I'm really not using it. Make sure you're at least following all of us because all of us in some capacity are going to be providing you some sort of premiere content for free. For free. You don't have to subscribe to live feeds or Paramount Plus if you follow all of us for free on our TikTok. So I am at _reality alley. And Kyle, what's your at?
I had to look up at Kyle Kirby 05.
And Nicolette always has to tell me her at.
bookishtv.nicklin.
I'll get this eventually.
Uh-huh.
So make sure you're following all of us because Kyle, I know, follows as much as he can and posts as much as he can, as well as, of course, Nicolette and I do the same. So I have had a wonderful time talking with you, Kyle and Nicolette, and I hope to see you guys again.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was fun. This was really fun.
Bye.
Bye.